At our engagement party, I walked in on my fiancée locking lips with her ex. She called it just closure and mocked me for being insecure. I didn't argue, I just walked away. The next morning, her dad was desperate to undo the damage. I, 30, was always the careful one in relationships. My friends call me Cautious Craig because I'd never fully commit until I was absolutely sure. This approach developed after watching my parents' volatile marriage implode when I was 14. They fought constantly, threw plates, threatened divorce weekly, then reconciled with dramatic declarations of love, until they finally split for good, leaving emotional wreckage in their wake. I promised myself I'd never put myself or anyone else through that kind of turmoil. That careful philosophy changed when I met Vanessa at a charity function 3 years ago. She was stunning in a simple black dress, confidently working the room. While I stood awkwardly nursing a beer in the corner, she approached me with a direct gaze and introduced herself. Unlike many people from her social circle, she seemed genuinely interested in my landscaping business, asking thoughtful questions about sustainable gardening practices. I was immediately drawn to her intelligence and the way she made everyone around her feel significant. After exchanging numbers, our first date stretched from coffee to dinner to late-night drinks. By the 3-month mark, I was spending most nights at her downtown apartment. After 8 months, we moved in together. She was passionate, ambitious with her interior design career, and surprisingly down to earth despite her privileged background. For the first time, my usual relationship caution seemed unnecessary. After 2 years together, I proposed on a hiking trip to Sedona, a simple moment at sunset with my grandmother's vintage emerald ring. When she said yes, tears streaming down her face, I felt I'd finally found what had eluded me, a partnership that was both exciting and stable. Our engagement party was set for last Saturday at her father's country club, an exclusive venue overlooking the city that typically had a 3-year waiting list for events. Vanessa's family has serious money. Old money. The kind of wealth that's never discussed directly but is evident in everything from their vacation properties to the casual way they order $300 bottles of wine. Her dad, Gerald, is some big-shot investment banker who made it very clear from our first meeting that he thought his daughter was settling with me. I run a landscaping business I built from scratch after apprenticing through college, not exactly the hedge fund manager or surgeon he wanted for his princess. Landscaping, he'd said during our first dinner together, swirling his scotch. That's gardening, right? For the people who can't afford actual landscape architects? Vanessa had squeezed my hand under the table. Daddy, Craig employs 15 people and just secured the contract for the new riverfront development. Gerald had simply raised an eyebrow and changed the subject. Despite his thinly veiled disapproval, I made consistent efforts with Gerald, joining him for golf, though I'm terrible, asking informed questions about investments, and always treating Vanessa with respect. Nothing moved the needle. In his world, I remained the guy who played in dirt for a living. The engagement party was meticulously planned by Vanessa and her mother over 3 months. Every detail reflected the tasteful opulence her family preferred, from hand-calligraphed invitations to imported flowers arranged by a designer who'd worked with celebrities. I felt out of place but tried to focus on what mattered, celebrating our commitment. The evening started well enough. I wore a new suit Vanessa had helped select, mingled with guests, and tolerated the subtle condescension from her father's business associates. Landscaping has such creative freedom, one banker's wife told me, as if describing a child's hobby. 2 hours into the party, I noticed Vanessa had disappeared. At first, I wasn't concerned, she was likely checking on details with the staff or chatting with college friends. But after 20 minutes of her absence, especially right when we were supposed to make a toast, I began searching. I checked the ladies' room, asking a server to peek in, the kitchen, the terrace. No sign of her. Vanessa's mother suggested she might be in the bridal suite upstairs where they'd gotten ready earlier. Empty. Finally, following a hunch, I checked the coat room tucked away in a secluded hallway. The door was slightly ajar. Through the narrow opening, I saw Vanessa with her arms wrapped around a tall, dark-haired man I recognized immediately as Devin, her ex-boyfriend from business school. They weren't just hugging, they were kissing passionately, her hands in his hair, his gripping her waist, completely lost in each other. Time seemed to slow as I stood there watching, my body gone cold. I didn't make a sound, didn't clear my throat or knock on the doorframe. I just stood there, processing the scene like it was happening to someone else. Devin saw me first. His eyes flicked over Vanessa's shoulder, widening slightly. He stepped back, not dramatically, but enough to create distance, smoothing his hair with one hand. Vanessa turned around, following his gaze. Instead of looking guilty or embarrassed, she rolled her eyes. There was annoyance on her face, annoyance at being caught, not remorse at what she was doing. Seriously, Craig? Her voice was steady, almost bored. It's just a goodbye kiss. We have history. When I didn't respond, couldn't respond, really, as my throat had constricted, she exhaled sharply. God, don't be such an insecure loser. Devin and I dated for years. We're just getting closure. Behind her, Devin straightened his tie, a slight smirk playing at the corner of his mouth. Yeah, man. Don't make this weird. Something inside me just clicked off, like a circuit breaker tripping during a power surge. The shock, the hurt, the confusion, they were all there, but suddenly contained behind a wall of calm clarity. I nodded, smiled slightly, and walked away. Craig, Vanessa called after me, her voice lower but sharp. Don't you dare make a scene. I didn't. I quietly navigated through the party, nodding at a few guests, avoiding eye contact with others. I grabbed my jacket from where I draped it over a chair earlier, and walked to my truck. My hands were steady as I started the engine, though I noticed I was gripping the steering wheel tightly enough that my knuckles had turned white. My phone began vibrating in my pocket before I'd even left the country club's long, winding driveway. By the time I reached the main road, it was buzzing continuously. I glanced at it once at a stoplight, 6 texts from Vanessa. Where are you? Come back right now. You're embarrassing me. My father is asking questions. This is our engagement party. Answer me. I turned my phone off and drove to our apartment, well, technically her apartment where I'd moved in 18 months ago. The space felt immediately different, like returning to a hotel room rather than a home. I moved methodically, pulling out suitcases from the hall closet and beginning to pack. Clothes first. Then important documents. My laptop and external hard drives with business files. The framed photo of my grandparents. I worked silently, efficiently, the way I tackle my most challenging landscaping projects, one section at a time, no wasted movement. By 2 a.m., I had loaded my essential belongings into my SUV. I left the engagement ring on the kitchen counter with a simple note, "Goodbye kiss." The emerald caught the dim light from the range hood, sending a small green reflection across the marble countertop. I drove to my buddy Tyler's place. He'd been at the engagement party but left early for his early morning shift at the hospital where he worked as a radiologist. I'd texted him around midnight, asking if I could crash at his place. His immediate response, "Doors unlocked. Beer in fridge. Guest room made up. No questions tonight." Tyler was waiting up despite his 5 a.m. shift, sitting on his couch with 2 open beers. He handed me one as I walked in, took in my suitcases, and nodded. Bad? He asked simply. Found her kissing Devin in the coat room, I replied, taking a long swig of beer. Shit. Tyler shook his head. Her ex from business school? The trust fund guy? I nodded. Want to talk about it? Not tonight. Guest room's yours as long as you need it. We'll figure out the rest tomorrow. That's why Tyler's been my best friend since 10th grade. He knows when to push and when to just be present. We finished our beers in silence, then turned in. I didn't sleep much, staring at the ceiling fan rotating slowly above the spare bed, my mind replaying the scene in the coat room on an endless loop. The next morning, I woke to dozens of missed calls, tons of texts, and one voicemail from Gerald screaming about how I'd humiliated his daughter and demanding I call back immediately to fix this disaster. Vanessa's texts had evolved overnight. How dare you leave my engagement party? You're acting like a child. My father is furious. It was nothing. A moment of weakness. Call me back right now. Where are you staying? Are you with Tyler? You're overreacting. It was just a kiss. You won't find anyone better than me. You know that, right? Please call me. We need to talk. I sat at Tyler's kitchen table, scrolling through the messages while mechanically eating the toast he'd left before heading to work. With each text, my resolve strengthened. I decided then, no dramatic showdown, no tearful confrontations, just consequences. I called my assistant manager, Miguel, explaining I needed a few days off for a personal emergency. Miguel had been with me since I started the business and knew how rarely I took time away. Take what you need, boss, he said. The Palmerton project is on schedule, and I can handle the Riverside meeting tomorrow. Next, I called my sister, Rachel, who lived 2 hours away. She'd been skeptical of Vanessa from the start, finding her too polished. I gave her a brief version of what had happened. I'm not surprised, Rachel said after a moment of stunned silence. That girl always looked at you like you were a stepping stone, not a partner. Thanks for the support, I replied dryly. You know what I mean. Her voice softened. You deserve better, Craig. Always have. Want me to come up this weekend? We could get drunk and burn her pictures. I'm okay. Just wanted you to know. Call me anytime. Day or night. I spent the rest of the day making lists and plans. By evening, I'd researched apartments, contacted a storage facility, and made an appointment with a lawyer to discuss business protections, a precaution in case Gerald decided to retaliate through his connections. I wasn't being paranoid, I'd seen how vindictive Vanessa could be when crossed, and the apple didn't fall far from the tree. It's been 5 days since I walked out of the engagement party. Thanks for all the support on my original post. Didn't expect it to blow up like that. The day after the party, I moved the rest of my stuff out while Vanessa was at work. I'd texted her that I'd be by to collect my things, but purposely went when I knew her design studio would be holding client meetings. I left my key next to the ring on the counter. Shortly after, Gerald called. His voicemail was suddenly all polite. "Craig, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Please call me back so we can discuss this like gentlemen." I didn't call back. Instead, I contacted our wedding vendors and canceled everything. Since I'd put down most of the deposits despite Gerald's wealth, I'd insisted on paying my share. Wanting to feel like an equal contributor, I was able to cancel without much hassle. Several vendors even offered partial refunds after I explained the situation in the vaguest terms possible. Unfortunately, the engagement has been called off. Vanessa's texts went from angry to pleading. "Please talk to me." It wasn't what it looked like. "We need to talk about this in person. Devin means nothing to me. He was just there and it happened. Don't throw away what we have over something so stupid." I finally replied after 2 days of silence, "I'm not throwing away what we had. You already did that." My response triggered an escalation. That afternoon, I was at a client's property, reviewing plans for a water feature installation, when Vanessa's silver Mercedes pulled up, tires crunching on the gravel driveway. My client, Mrs. Hendricks, a kind, elderly woman who was investing significantly in redoing her garden, looked up in surprise. Vanessa stormed over, completely ignoring Mrs. Hendricks, her designer heels sinking slightly into the soft lawn. She was dressed for work in a tailored black dress and blazer, her dark hair pulled back severely. "You need to stop this childish silent treatment," she said loudly, color high in her cheeks. "We're getting married in 4 months." I excused myself from Mrs. Hendricks and walked Vanessa back to her car, conscious of maintaining professionalism despite the scene she was creating. "We're not getting married," I said calmly, keeping my voice low. "I've already canceled the vendors." Her face transformed from angry to shocked in an instant. "You what?" "I canceled everything." "You can't do that," she sputtered. "My father has already invited his business associates." "Then I guess you and Devin will have to figure something out," I replied evenly. That's when she slapped me, hand connecting with my cheek hard enough that the sound cracked through the quiet garden. Mrs. Hendricks gasped from where she was pretending not to watch. "Screw you," Vanessa hissed. "I was gonna tell you it was a mistake, that Devin caught me off guard, but now I'm glad you saw us. You never deserved me anyway." As she was turning to leave, I said quietly, "You know what's interesting? You're more upset about the cancelled wedding than losing me." She had no response to that, just slammed her car door and reversed out of the driveway so quickly she nearly hit the mailbox. Mrs. Hendricks approached cautiously after Vanessa's car disappeared from view. "Are you all right, dear?" "I'm fine, Mrs. Hendricks. I apologize for the interruption." She patted my arm gently. "My first fiancé ran off with my cousin a month before our wedding. Best thing that ever happened to me, led me to my Harold. We had 42 wonderful years together." She smiled. "Sometimes the worst moments lead us to where we're meant to be." Those simple words from a near stranger provided more comfort than all my friends' supportive messages. Later that day, Gerald called again. This time I answered, wanting to draw a clear line. "Craig," he said, his voice controlled, businesslike. "We need to discuss this situation." "There's nothing to discuss. Don't be hasty. Everyone makes mistakes. Vanessa is very sorry." "Is she sorry it happened or sorry I saw it?" After a pause, he said, "Look, I understand you're hurt, but perhaps we could come to an arrangement. To make this go away quietly?" I clarified, startled by the implication. "Are you trying to bribe me to marry your daughter after she cheated?" "I wouldn't phrase it that way," Gerald replied smoothly. "I'm offering compensation for your emotional distress. Plus, consider the business opportunities that could come your way through my connections." I laughed, genuinely amused by his transparency. "Goodbye, Gerald." I hung up. That evening, I got a text from an unknown number. "This is Devin. We should talk man to man." I blocked him without responding. The weird thing is I'm not even angry anymore. Just done. There's a certain clarity that comes with betrayal this clean, this undeniable. No gaslighting could convince me I didn't see what I saw, or that their reaction was appropriate. The relationship was over, not just because of a kiss, but because of the utter lack of respect that followed. 2 weeks have passed, and things have gotten interesting. Yes, I've blocked Vanessa everywhere. No, I didn't let her keep the ring. It was my grandmother's, passed down with the understanding it would go to the woman I'd spend my life with. And yes, I've told our mutual friends what happened, but only when asked directly. I've kept it simple. I found Vanessa kissing Devin at our engagement party. When confronted, she dismissed my concerns. I decided to end the relationship. Most friends have been supportive, though some of Vanessa's college circle have predictably taken her side. "It was just a silly kiss," one texted. "You're throwing away a great relationship over nothing." I didn't bother responding. After I declined Gerald's arrangement, He showed up at my office unannounced. My assistant, Julia, came to get me looking distinctly uncomfortable. "There's a Mr. Bennett in reception," she said quietly. "He doesn't have an appointment but insists on seeing you. Says he'll wait all day if necessary." I found Gerald sitting in our modest reception area, looking out of place in his bespoke suit and handmade Italian shoes, flipping impatiently through one of our landscaping portfolios. He stood. When he saw me, "We need to talk," he said. Privately, in my office, a simple space with drafting tables and plant samples rather than the mahogany and leather he was accustomed to, he got straight to the point. "I've been doing some research on your business," he began with a smirk. "You've done well for yourself, considering your background. What do you want, Gerald? You have loans on your equipment. You've also bid on the Westview Park project." He smiled thinly. "Did you know I'm on the board that approves those bids?" My stomach tightened, but I kept my face neutral. The Westview project was a major municipal contract that would elevate my business and secure work for my team for the next 18 months. "Are you threatening my livelihood because I won't marry your cheating daughter?" "I'm simply pointing out that actions have consequences. Vanessa made a mistake. One kiss, and now you're punishing her by humiliating our family." "One kiss I happened to see," I corrected him, "and I'm not punishing anyone. I'm protecting myself." He leaned forward, his expression hardening. "Be reasonable. The wedding can be postponed, not cancelled." "Why are you so desperate for this wedding to happen?" I interrupted. "You never even liked me." Something flickered across his face. "Worry? Vanessa wants this marriage," he said firmly. "No, she doesn't. She wants a wedding. There's a difference." That's when it clicked. This wasn't about Vanessa's happiness or even family reputation. There was something else driving Gerald's unusual desperation. After Gerald left with a reminder about the Westview bid, I called my friend Marcus, who works at a firm that handles Gerald's company's contracts. "Can you check something for me? Anything unusual going on with Gerald Bennett's company?" Marcus called back an hour later. "Dude, how did you know? It's not public yet, but there are rumors their quarterly reports have discrepancies. The SEC is looking into it." Suddenly, Gerald's desperation made sense. He needed the wedding to project stability while under financial scrutiny. A cancelled engagement would invite questions, attract attention, and potentially rattle already nervous investors. Not to mention, a lavish wedding would continue the illusion of financial strength. I texted Gerald simply, "I know about the SEC." No response, but the Westview Park board approved my bid the next day. An interesting coincidence. Meanwhile, Vanessa started telling everyone I was controlling and jealous, that she'd escaped our relationship just in time. I've gotten concerned calls from friends asking if I'd really checked her phone regularly and dictated who she could see. I hadn't, or if I'd truly thrown a fit when she wanted to attend her college reunion. I'd actually encouraged her to go. When asked, I just tell the simple truth: I found her kissing her ex, and I left. Most people can read between the lines. Then came the real bombshell. Devin's girlfriend, yes, he had one, reached out to me on Instagram. Her name's Ariel, and she had receipts. "Devin's been cheating on me with Vanessa for months," she wrote. Not just a goodbye kiss. I found their messages. "We met for coffee, and she showed me everything. Text conversations going back at least 6 months, hotel meetups, explicit messages, and future plans." In one message from just 2 weeks before our engagement party, Vanessa wrote, "Craig is just a stepping stone. He has good connections for my design business. Once I've established myself, we can be together." I felt strangely calm reading these exchanges. They confirmed what I'd already sensed at some level, that Vanessa's affection had never been genuine, that I'd been useful rather than loved. Ariel and I compared notes. The night before our engagement party, Devin had promised to break up with Ariel so he and Vanessa could be together. The goodbye kiss I witnessed was actually celebrating their plan. "What are you going to do with this?" Ariel asked, her expression a mix of anger and resignation. "Nothing," I said. "I don't need to do anything. The truth will come out on its own," and it did. Vanessa's best friend, Jesse, called me the following week. "We've always gotten along well. Jesse is one of the few people in Vanessa's circle who treats everyone with the same respect, regardless of their bank account. I can't believe what she did to you," she said. "She's telling everyone you were abusive, that you controlled her money and isolated her from friends." "You know that's not true," I said. "Of course I do. That's why I'm calling. I've known about her and Devin for a while. I should have told you." She paused, then added, "I've sent you an email. It's an invitation to her freedom celebration party this weekend. She's invited everyone, and Devin." I checked my email and found the electronic invitation, featuring a photo of Vanessa looking carefree and the tagline celebrating new beginnings. I forwarded it to Gerald with no comment. 10 minutes later, Gerald called. "What do you want?" he asked, his voice tight. "Nothing. Just thought you should know what your daughter is up to while you're trying to save her engagement. He hung up without another word. I'm not going to Vanessa's party, obviously, but I am moving forward. I've put a deposit on a small apartment closer to my office. The Westview project is approved and set to begin next month. I've even had coffee with someone, a landscape architect I met at a sustainable gardening conference last year. No pressure. Just nice conversation with someone who seems genuine. Sometimes the best revenge is just letting people reveal who they truly are. It's been 3 months since my last update. Lots of you DM'd asking for closure, so here goes. Vanessa's freedom celebration blew up in her face. According to Jesse, who attended out of morbid curiosity, Gerald showed up uninvited just as Vanessa and Devin were getting cozy on the dance floor. He caused a huge scene, dragging Vanessa outside for what witnesses called a nuclear argument. Apparently, Gerald's company's financial troubles were worse than anyone knew, and Vanessa's behavior was making things worse with potential investors who were hearing rumors about family instability. The spectacle at her party confirmed what many had suspected: Gerald Bennett's perfect world was crumbling. The following week, the news broke publicly. Gerald's company was under federal investigation for accounting irregularities and potential securities fraud. Their stock tanked 60% in one day. Vanessa tried contacting me again, sending a long email about making the biggest mistake of her life and needing support during this difficult family time. I didn't respond. Devin ghosted once the Bennett family fortune took a hit. Ariel, with whom I've stayed in casual contact, told me he tried getting back with her, claiming Vanessa had pursued him relentlessly and he'd made a terrible error in judgment. Ariel wasn't buying it. Funny how he came crawling back the exact day Gerald's company tanked, she said when we met for a quick lunch. She's moved on with a veterinarian she met through work, and seems genuinely happy. My business has been doing great. The Westview Park project was a huge success, leading to 2 more municipal contracts. I've hired 3 more full-time employees and moved to a bigger office space. The loans Gerald threatened me about are nearly paid off, and I'm exploring an expansion into sustainable irrigation systems. About 6 weeks ago, I was having dinner with Eliza, the landscape architect I mentioned before. We're dating now, taking it slow, but it's going well. She's brilliant, grounded, and laughs at my terrible plant puns. We were at a new restaurant downtown when Vanessa walked in with a group of friends. She spotted me immediately and came over, her smile too bright, her designer dress noticeably last season. "Craig," she said with fake cheerfulness. "How are you?" "I'm good, Vanessa. This is Eliza." Eliza smiled politely but said nothing, her hand resting lightly on mine on the table, a small gesture that spoke volumes. After an awkward silence, Vanessa said, "I've been thinking about you. Maybe we could talk sometime? For closure?" Before I could respond, one of her friends called out, "Vanessa, your dad's on the phone. He says it's urgent." Panic flashed across her face. "I have to take this. But call me, okay?" After she left, Eliza raised an eyebrow. "So that's the famous Vanessa?" "That's her," I confirmed. "She seems intense." We both laughed. I never called Vanessa. Last week, Gerald pleaded guilty to securities fraud. The news reported that he's liquidating personal assets, including the country club where our engagement party was held. Jesse told me Vanessa had to move out of our old apartment and into a much smaller place. She's also had to take a corporate job, giving up her dreams of an independent design studio. "She still talks about you," Jesse said. "Says you're the one who got away." "I'm not the one who got away," I told her. "I'm the one who walked away. There's a difference. I don't take pleasure in their troubles. What happened wasn't my doing, it was the natural consequence of their own actions. I'm just glad I discovered who they truly were before I legally joined their family. As for me, life's good. Eliza and I are taking things slow. My business is thriving, with projects lined up through next year. I've even adopted a dog, a rescue lab mix named Remy, who accompanies me to job sites and has become our unofficial company mascot. My grandmother's ring is back in its box, waiting for the right person. Maybe that's Eliza. Maybe it's someone I haven't met yet. No rush. I've learned that patience and self-respect are far more important than meeting someone else's timeline. Sometimes the worst moments lead us exactly where we need to be. That goodbye kiss was actually my hello to a better life, one built on honesty, hard work, and real connection rather than appearances and advantages. That's a foundation that won't crumble, no matter what. I never expected to see Gerald Bennett again after his sentencing. Yet here he was, standing outside my office on a crisp autumn morning, looking 10 years older. Gone was the tailored suit and commanding presence. His shoulders hunched under an off-the-rack jacket, his once meticulously styled hair now gray and thinning. "Craig," he said, his voice lacking its former authority. "May I have a few minutes?" I gestured him inside. My new office overlooked the Westview Park project, now complete and flourishing with native plants and sustainable water features. The space reflected my company's growth, professional but unpretentious, with design awards on one wall and framed photos of completed projects on another. Gerald sat stiffly in the visitor's chair. I'm reporting to federal prison next week. 18 months, he stated it matter-of-factly, eyes fixed on the park outside. I'm sorry to hear that, I replied, surprised to find I genuinely meant it. Before I go, I wanted to. He hesitated, the words seemingly unfamiliar. Apologize. For everything. Not just the threats about your business, but how I treated you from day one. I said nothing, waiting. I judged you based on what you did, not who you are. I was wrong. His gaze finally met mine. You were the best thing in Vanessa's life, and neither of us saw it. The office fell silent except for the hum of the HVAC system. How is Vanessa? I asked eventually. Gerald sighed. Working in Chicago now. Entry-level position at a commercial design firm. She's adjusting to reality. He fidgeted with his watch, a simple Timex that had replaced his Patek Philippe. She doesn't know I'm here. We don't speak much anymore. I nodded, unsurprised. I had everything backwards, Gerald continued. I thought success was about appearances, connections, the right circles. But when everything fell apart, those people vanished. The gardener I looked down on built something real, something lasting. He gestured toward the park. While I built a house of cards. As he stood to leave, he reached into his pocket and placed a small envelope on my desk. My attorney found this in our safe deposit box. It belongs to you. Inside was a business card-sized photo of my grandparents on their wedding day that had been in my grandmother's ring box, something I hadn't even realized was missing when I took the ring back. Vanessa took it, Gerald explained. Said it was for good luck. After he left, I sat holding that small photo, thinking about choices and consequences. I thought about Eliza, now living with me and Remy in our new house. About her passion for sustainable design that complemented my work. About how our relationship was built on mutual respect rather than calculation. Last weekend, I'd taken my grandmother's ring out of its box again, this time with certainty rather than hope. Eliza and I were planning a hiking trip to Sedona next month, the perfect location to ask an important question. Life doesn't always give you clean endings or perfect justice. Gerald would serve his time. Vanessa would eventually rebuild her life. Devin would probably find another wealthy partner to leech from. But I had found something more valuable than vindication, a life of authenticity. That courtroom kiss hadn't just freed me from a fraudulent relationship, it had freed me from measuring success by others' standards. As I tucked my grandparents' photo into my wallet, I felt only gratitude for the painful lesson that had led me here. Sometimes it takes losing what you thought you wanted to find what you actually need.